Okay, so I finally finished this sketchbook after 10 months. And this is the third time I'm trying to film this video, so please send help. Anyway, this is a A3 200-page sketchbook, and I started it on the 1st of September and finished it on the 2nd of July. And as you can see, it's all beat up and falling apart. I have a whole video about this first page, so I'm not going to talk about it. Alright, and the usual nudity warning. There's some pages where it's explicit, but it's mostly just normal art nudes. All this stuff was for the planning of the previous page, and these were for a headshot commissions batch I was doing. Yeah, and this was the first attempt of a painting that I am doing a painting series about tailbones, and this is the third painting in the series. And yeah, I completely redid this on a larger paper. And yeah, this sketchbook is the one that starts the OC BRAINROT, and I used to have just her and 2 others, but in this sketchbook I ended up making a lot more. She's supposed to be a black coffee clown, like a personification of black coffee or something like that. And yes, that is exactly what it looks like, and no, I will not elaborate. And this is another design that I am not going to use, but I still think it's pretty cute. And this one is an ibex clown, and the backstory is that he's a hybrid between a human and a mother ibex, and when the ibex part takes over, then he just goes into a murderous rage because the mother ibex is looking for her baby. And this is a DTIYS for Davy Jonesies on Instagram. And oh, another sticker from Vicious Bumblebee. And then another clown. I got this packaging. I made a clown inspired by it. And these are 2 more random designs that I'm not going to use. And this was for another video. I had got these watercolors by Aquatone, and I just had 5, so it was a limited color palette challenge too. But the filming and the editing and the voiceover were so far apart that I hated everything by the time it was finished, and I mainly just forced myself to keep going because I had spent so long on it. And I didn't want to post it, but I did. But since then I've deleted it. There's another spread later, which was also supposed to be a video, but it also ran into the same kind of problem, so I'm going to talk about that more there. And then another clown. She's called Cloud because she was inspired by a figurine that looked like a cloud cow. This is another one of those headshot ink commissions batch. Oh, and here there's a faint outline of what is supposed to be a Spinosaurus-inspired clown, but I do draw her properly later on. And this is probably the most cohesive page in this entire sketchbook. So I have a set of cute magical girl themed stickers, just the random ones that you get from Amazon. And I did this thing a few times where I make my own version of the sticker, or inspired by it. And so here's the abyssal lantern holder. And this is an OC belonging to Pinequin on Instagram. I put up a question where I asked people to send me their clown OCs, and I'll draw them because I needed to stop making more and more clown OCs. Anyway, she's hot. I enjoy drawing her. This is another character from that same questions box. And she's probably sad because she's surrounded by these terrible watercolor sketches. And this is Supernova. I actually drew just the face and the body, and then it was left like that for the longest time. And the arms and the hair, I just forcefully finished it when I came back to try to finish the sketchbook. And that's why I love it down here, but this is terrible. And this is a graphite photo study of a portrait by Lakin Ogunbanwo. And it's not as polished as I can make it, but that's what the study was specifically about, trying to find a balance between speed and the amount of rendering. Okay, and here I was trying to draw more character interactions because I always just draw a character floating in blank space by themselves. And yeah, I tried to practice interactions, especially since Inktober was going to start, and I had a whole plan for that. So yeah, I just looked up a couple poses on Pinterest, and I tried a few, but as you can see, I didn't go very far. The first one was the only one that was worked on, and there was a sketch under here too, but I erased it when I was coming back to find blank pages towards the end of the sketchbook, and this is drawn way later. You see the character design process for her towards the back. And this is my first clown, Hirukani, and her little boyfriend. Unfinished, of course. And this is another of that sticker drawing exercise. And this too, but I was trying to turn them into clowns. And I was going to stick more paper on top and redo it, but yeah, I did not. On a page of watercolor bugs. At some point later in this sketchbook, I just somehow completely lose my ability to paint. So I don't know how I did this. And this is a very old watercolor piece, at least 7 years back. And it's a study of a painting by Missy Cohen on Etsy. And I just had it around for the longest time, so finally just stuck it in here and I can forget about it now. Yeah, this is the last clown I made for a while, and I wasn't sure if she was actually going to become an OC, but I fleshed her out on the very last page of this sketchbook. This is a sketch base printout for transferring onto watercolor paper. This too. I had done a sketch based off of a medieval drawing on the very first sketchbook tour that I posted on here, and this is... I made it ready for transfer and everything, and I actually started painting it. You see it. It's stuck on the very last... It's stuck on the back cover of this. And yeah, I spent 15, 20 hours painting the background, and then I just completely messed up the character. So that was a disaster. Yet again, this was another video I was trying to make, and I was gonna do a series about drawing characters based off of snacks and food packaging. And I still do have the footage, but from what has happened, it seems that I can't go back to old videos or just hate everything. So if I ever decide to actually do this series, then I'm gonna start from scratch. This is one of the last pages I finished, and I'll explain it later. When there's more context to this, it'll make sense, I promise. And now Inktober starts, and I had a whole custom list for me, and it was about OC interactions, because as I said before, I wanted to practice that. But I somehow did not realize just how much work it would all be. I thought I'd be fine because I had a lot of free time, and I was like, it can't take more than 5 hours, right? Wrong. This happens to me all the time, and I have no idea why I continue to underestimate time. Day 2, I tried a background again. Oh wait, yeah, right, about the picture itself. It was going okay until I tried to color in the background, and then everything went to shit. And this too, I tried a background again, but I had no idea how to shade it, so I tried to salvage it digitally, but I don't like how it looks. But just the characters themselves though, I'm quite happy with them. I also really like this before I put the ink wash on it, and I knew I would probably mess it up if I put it, but I tried anyway, and yeah, I messed it up. I should have scanned it before I did that. Yeah, and day 4, I realized that I was trying to do way too much, so I decided to do it like this, where I draw 2 character-only drawings for every interaction/faux background piece. And my hyena clown again. The prompt was fishing for magical creatures. And this is a jumping spider OC. Once again, I didn't finish it, but this time I just put a screen tone on it in Photoshop, and it looks fine. Also, I think this is a good demonstration of why it was great to have such a huge sketchbook. Like, it gave me so much space to play with. And it's Cloud again. The prompt was cooking nasty things over a fire. I remember I really enjoyed drawing this. Okay, this is one of my nun characters, and the prompt was adopting a skeleton pet. And the lore is that she got cast out for learning necromancy, so the prompt was for her. And I think the only thing I like about this spread is this pet here. Oh, and if you noticed, I just used that vintage ad printout for her pose. For this, I had a whole idea about this dog-shaped ritual pool, and then it was filled with blood. But the angle just wasn't working out. And then Prophet. The prompt was Graveyard Party, and it was for other OCs, but it fits her just fine. And I really like this. It's obviously unfinished, but I need to draw this properly at some point. A secret workshop for the Moth Mother. And she wasn't really an OC. I just used her for a DTIYS, and I've ended up drawing her a few times after that. But yeah, this is her mixed with Michelangelo's Pieta, plus some kind of Venus flytrap zombification. I really like how this turned out. And this is another one of my wasp mommies. Because other than clowns, I'm also obsessed with wasps, and she's based on the tarantula hawk wasp. But I actually got the proportions completely wrong on this. Like, the top half of her is just way too big. Yeah, also after this, it's gonna become mostly pencil sketches because it was starting to become too much work. Plus, I also like doing just clean pencil stuff. This is also unfinished. Yeah, I just couldn't figure out. Usually I wouldn't give up after just that, but I guess I was tired or something. Okay, another two of my main wasp OCs. These are one of the very first ones, actually. I did I think a trio, and after that, yeah, I've been obsessed ever since. And Nivienne here is the first. And anyway, the prompt was coffin lunch break, and I think it was supposed to be for my nuns, but it fits Nivienne just fine because she's a parasite of caterpillars. So essentially, they turn into coffins, and she eats them. Okay, I don't know why this is so funny to me, but yeah, this is another insect OC. They're a plume moth, so their name is Plume. And yeah, on the concept making page, as you can see, there's only that one sketch. Because as soon as I sketched this out, I knew that I just have to draw that. Like, imagine this, but painted out in a whole Renaissance era religious style. I wish I would actually have the energy to do that. Yeah, I completely ignored the prompt here and made a clown. Another empty one. It was going to be Rosa, who is... At least I managed to get this pet design, though, and I'm actually going to use it. Okay, this one is also another ignored prompt. Yeah. So I was sketching out poses, and then I thought, hey, this pose and this pose would look cool together, and then they did. So I drew it for real. I think this is also another one that would be nice to have a watercolor version of. Okay, here's the Spinosaurus clown. And I don't know why I turned the ribbon end tail into a twirl, because it looks better as a ribbon end. Okay, this is another pencil sketch that I really like. And it's Hirokane and her boyfriend again, and a skinned coat. Okay, and this is supposed to be Rosa before she got kicked out. And this is her pet, and it's illegal because it can walk on its own. And there's just something about these scrawny T-Rex armed backwards legged creatures that just get me. Another one I gave up on. And another pencil sketch that I do like. She's the last of the original wasp trio. Yeah, I never ended up trying to draw this because it was supposed to be an underwater scene. And I have no experience of that, as I didn't even know how to be in. And this is another one that I really like. I wanted to make a house centipede OC because house centipedes are just so cool. They're really short, but they have this really long legs, so they just look like a little bug with just an explosion of legs. And I love them. I wish I could have a house centipede pet someday. Yeah, I forgot to draw her two tails though. And later on, I do make her design again, but with the legs, and it looks so much better. Oh, here I was using these transparent sticky notes, pretty much like when you use layers in Photoshop. And it was actually really helpful to decide what pose would look best. Yeah, I guess I'm starting to give up. And that's why there's not much point in explaining this. And this is where I gave up. But I still really enjoyed the whole experience of this Inktober, and it's the farthest I've ever gotten. I've tried 3 times before, so with this it's like 4 in all, 0 finishes. But I'm not upset about that. It was nice to have my own prompts, and it was still really fun. Okay, I drew this for a reel. Do you remember? If you were on Instagram or TikTok, I guess, then there was that trend about the jelly art style. And I've actually always liked how that style looks, though it's nothing like mine. So I made a reel about jelly art style, but traditional. And yeah, this is so different from how I usually draw. This is based off a medieval margin drawing. This is also another thing based off of a medieval margin drawing, and it's from a 14th century French songbook, and a random insectoid girl design, and more figure sketches that I left so that I could use them later because I like them. Okay, this is an old watercolor study, probably from 3 years ago, and I never finished it. And once again, just finally stuck it in here so it's not just lying around. And it's from a photo of Sol or Soleil Altrozzi. And this is another drawing based off of medieval marginalia. This one is from the Book of Hours. Around here, I was using up the last of my trash watercolor set. I think just the green and the yellow was left, so I was using that trash set plus the White Knight Student watercolors. But after this, I just somehow forget how to paint. There's going to be a lot of empty corner spaces where usually it would just be filled with small watercolor sketches like this. Anyway, these are leopard slugs, and yeah, they are having sex. And I was gonna draw more, actually. I saved a bunch of just leopard slug sex photos because I was like, I am obsessed with this. This is all I'm gonna draw for the next few days. But this took 6 hours, and this took 4 hours, maybe, probably even more. So I realized, you know what, that's enough time spent on this topic. Hey, this is based on another medieval drawing, not marginalia this time. It's from an illustration in some 14th century Duke's Pentateuch, which is a collection of the first 5 books in the Hebrew Bible. Yeah, this is the sketch printout for another DIYS that I really like how it turned out in the end. And you know, when sometimes you use a tissue for drying off paint and ink and it just ends up looking really nice, so I stick them in sometimes. Another 2 sketches for transfer. This time not printouts. I just lined the pencil sketch so that I could see it through my watercolor paper with a light box. And yeah, they are covering my failed attempts at this ink line work plus watercolor attempts. I have been trying to find a style that's works for me with that has ink line work plus watercolor washes on top, but I still have not been able to. Yeah, I like this page before I tried to draw insects like I used to be able to, but as I said, I just somehow forgot how to paint. Yeah, but I don't mean by I forgot how to paint. I mean, when I do watercolor sketches like these, then I don't make a pencil sketch first. I just go directly in with paint, and it has worked for me for years, but I just can't do that anymore. Yeah, this one I did a careful pencil sketch and everything before trying to paint it. And yeah, the main thing with this was that I was trying to see just how much watercolor this can take, because this is not for watercolor sketchbook. It is specifically for dry media. But if you've touched a lot of different types of paper, then you know what I'm talking about when I say that if the paper isn't for watercolor, but it's very dry and it has that proper, I guess it doesn't have as much sizing is what it is, so that the watercolor goes inside and then you can't really move it anymore. So I find that that kind of sketchbook is easier to force to take watercolor than sketchbooks that were like smoother or had a harder surface. Yeah, all of this is only if you are not using professional watercolors. Oh, this was from the first time I have ever gone to a live figure drawing session, and I've wanted to go to one for so long. I've been unable to find any live figure drawing sessions or classes unless it was connected to an art school. So yeah, it was amazing that there finally was one where I live. Yeah, this was the last one, but it was 20 minutes, but I didn't know what I could do with how much time, so I ended up drawing it quickly and then ended up using the spare time to just completely overwork the sketch. But this one I really like. This was the one before the previous page, and it was 10 minutes. And for the last one, it was after this point where I failed to render the sketch in a way that looks nice. Okay, this is another thing where we used black and white charcoal on brown paper, and I have never used charcoal before. So when we first started, I was really struggling, but this was the last one, and I was starting to figure it out, and it was starting to become really fun. Okay, these two pages were left blank for the longest time, with just the pink sketches of poses. And I think I finished this the second last page in the entire sketchbook. I turned the random pose that was in here into this, and this is heavily based off of a art trade that I'm doing right now with Art of Joy on Instagram. The next sketch is kind of the same thing, where I was wondering whether to flesh it out or not. But it was going to be a lot of work, so if I ever use it, then I'm going to do it on a different paper. This was for a live stream that I was doing on Instagram with the Noon, and we were doing an animal mixing session where we randomly select 3 animals and then we mix them into a new chimera animal, and this was the first one. We did 3 in all. And another 2 drawings from medieval marginalia. Both of them are malacomorphs, and this one is from a 17th century French church songbook, and this one is from a 14th century ritual book commissioned by some nobleman called Renaud de Bar. And it's actually a very pretty book, and you can look through the entire thing on the Fitzmuseum online catalog. So if you like the medieval illuminated illustrated books, then I highly recommend you look through it. Okay, this was the result of the first live stream, and I really like it. It's definitely my favorite out of all the 3 that we did. Random doodle that I really like the result of. And this, even if I explained it, it probably won't make any sense unless you're seeing it from inside my head. But yeah, it was a concept that I was coming up with a concept based off of a poem called Solstice Litany by Jim Harrison. And I do want to draw it for real someday. Okay, this was for the second animal mixing live stream. And this is the result. And that day, we were both kind of out of it. Yeah, we both had just been sick. But it was still fun. I'm just not happy with the result. It's definitely my least favorite out of all. Over here, I was just trying to find a rusty-looking texture by trying to mix all my granulating watercolors together. But I didn't quite get anything that I liked. Okay, so this is the start of the video that I was trying to make. This is the one that made me realize that I need to delete everything that has been half done and then just start from a clean slate. So I was trying to make a video about sketchbook drawing ideas, about how to make drawing ideas come to you, because the vast majority of sketchbook ideas videos that I see are literally just that, like just stuff that you can draw. But I wanted to make one about like how to make those ideas happen. But yeah, the main reason I couldn't finish it was because the audio, it was just fucking impossible. Like something just kept going wrong with it, and I had to record it just over and over. So once again, the process just kept dragging on until I hated everything. Okay, over here, I had drawn another art trait, but I had to cut it out because I had just gotten texture paste for the first time, and I put it all on the other side because I didn't really know what it does or what it's for, and it was stones texture paste, and it was literally just little stones inside paste, and it did look really nice, but it definitely was not for putting into your sketchbook because it started puncturing all the paper around it, and it was also too thick. So yeah. Unfortunately, I don't have the original for this art trait anymore. Okay, this was a drawing for my other account, which is Pterosaur Harpy, and these are pterosaur harpies. And I've just been posting pieces there that are just one character on a blank background. So I wanted to start doing character or characters interacting with a background. And this is the planning process for this. And these particular harpies are based off of sparrows. Oh, this is a character based off of the snakefly. And this is another one based off of the sawfly. And I really like this, but I don't like the character design as a whole. And this is the sawfly mommy. Right, this was the sketch printout for another art trait, this time with Nika K on Instagram, and we actually traded originals, which was amazing. And yeah, I still need to put her piece in a frame and put it on my wall. Yeah, this was another pterosaur harpy that I was trying to paint, but I left it half done for so long that every time I came back to it, I just forgot what I was trying to do, and also the paper had just become too rubbed around, and also I have no experience with drawing white feathers, so yeah, it was also really difficult. Also, I think with the previous one, I just got really lucky. So if I ever feel like finishing this, then I'll just paint over it digitally. Okay, so now I can explain what that stuff from one of the first several pages was. So it's kind of a variation on that stream of consciousness exercise. So I first just make vague shapes that I like, and then I work on the shapes a bit more, then I ink it. So it's that stream of consciousness sort of exercise where you don't think and you just let what you're drawing become whatever it wants to become. You have to be in the mood for it, but if you are, then it's really gratifying. Another bird of prey eating bird thing. This was also another theme that I got obsessed with for a short while, like the leopard slug thing. But but I didn't really get that far with them because they just became way too difficult to do. I tried, but I just can't replicate the results of the first one. Like, with a lot of stuff in this sketchbook, I just seem to be having some kind of first try luck. Yeah, more of that freeform shapes exploration. And I do really like a lot of these. And also how the page just looks as a whole. It's just so satisfying looking. I go through phases of allowing or not allowing myself to do these kinds of stream of consciousness exercises or even just unplanned drawings, because whenever I let myself just draw whatever without thinking, like 9 times out of 10, it's just gonna turn into something weird. Maybe I'm just a pervert, I don't know. And I like this line work before I put this orange marker on it, and I have no fucking clue why I did it. Here I'm still trying to convince myself that I haven't forgotten how to paint. This was another drawing that I did way back when I first made that coffee clown character. But I never did anything with it, and once again it was just lying around, so it goes in here. Character based off of the spined Macrothena. Okay, over here I was trying to make a spread that was completely full. You know how some people make sketchbooks and it's just everything is completely full and it's so satisfying? If you know the Last Coffee Beans channel here, yeah, that kind of thing. So I was just looking through a bunch of sketchbook photos and I was trying to plan it out the same way that they do, but I tried here and then I just hated it. And I put the red here because I just didn't want to keep drawing it anymore. This too, I was gonna try making a full spread, but as you can see, I did not. And this is the House Centipede character, if you remember. I talked about it way back in Inktober. And here she is with her legs unsheathed. I am obsessed with her. Okay, these are sketch printouts for another painting that was a watercolor version of an older ink piece. And this top one is color comps. Usually I wouldn't do just two, but okay, at first I was trying to do bluish because it's a heart and they're always red, so I was trying something different. But then I tried the red one, and then I knew that, yeah, it has to be red. This is another character that I made on one of the very last pages, and I needed another drawing of her because I wanted to put her up on Artfight. This is the Mother Nun back in her heyday, if you remember. I mentioned it in passing during the Inktober section. And yeah, this is the baby design from back then. This was another DIYS. It's a sketch printout, and this is the actual piece. Halfway through, I just did not want to work on it anymore. Oh, and this is the paper where we did the first exercises during the figure drawing session, and I just wanted to keep it as a memento, I guess. I really like how this turned out. Once again, you'll see, oh, this one. She's a character that was designed here. The hatching just ended up looking so satisfying, but I feel like you have to see it in real life to get the full effect of what it looks like, because when I posted it online, it's smaller, so it just doesn't have the same effect. Okay, this is who I am obsessed with right now. Her name is Amit, and she's an ant mimic cosmet moth. And her name was also decided with a poll. It was either Amit, which is Old English for moth, or cosmet. Also, I think this is the first time I went for coloring something out fully with color pencils. It's not really shaded, but it was pretty interesting to try that. But it did take way too long. Also, yeah, the leaves and the flower are atrocious. I just didn't want to work on them. Okay, this was left as the last page in my sketchbook, and it was left unfinished for so long. I just forcefully finished it so that I could put this sketchbook to sleep. And it doesn't look that bad until you look at it closely, and then you can see all the missing spots. Yeah, character design pages. This one is Yumi. Once again, her name was decided by an Instagram poll, and she's an assassin bug nymph. This is another unnamed character because I haven't put her out there yet, because she's probably the weirdest character I have at the moment. I've talked about my sketching process for these kinds of things in previous sketchbook tour videos, so I'm not going to go over that again. Yeah, and here's where Amit was born. I just love her body plan so much. And I think I'm going to draw this as a full-on painting, or paint. I'm going to paint this as a full-on watercolor piece someday. This was the character design for Mistis. She is based on a phantom cranefly. Okay, these are figure sketches from the Prix de Lausanne ballet competition videos, but the contemporary category, because there's just a lot more different poses you can get in that category, and I like them, and I'll probably use some of them, so I left it without drawing anything on top. Okay, second last page, finally. This is the last insect character design in here, if you remember from a few pages back. Her name is Tomia, and unlike all the other polls that I did for the names, where there was a clear winner, this one was actually pretty close between that and Decora. Yeah, she's based on a type of fly, but like not your generic housefly. But yeah, I changed the colors of this in Photoshop because, yeah, as I wrote here, I like this color, and I don't like the yellow. And the last page. Yeah, if you remember the last clown I did way back, who had the bulb tongue. So yeah, this is her with her design neatened up and finished up a bit, and so she's officially an OC. Now, this is that piece where I spent 20 hours on the background and loved it so much, but then I ruined everything. So I had masked this whole front character off, but then when I took it off, it like tore up the surface of the paper. I don't know why. It hasn't done that before. Maybe I left it on too long, or maybe I put too much. I don't know. But also, I think that even if I hadn't had that happen to me, the colors I chose for it would have been extremely ugly anyway. So that is the end. And having such a huge sketchbook was great because I had so much space to work with. But yeah, it was so big. I had to use it for so long, so it got beat up. The cover was coming off. The main body was separating from the spine, and the edges are torn up. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed looking through this giant war-torn thing with me. And the next sketchbook is going to be this one. And look at the size comparison between these. So breaking into this sketchbook is going to be the next video. So if you want to see that, you know what to do. So thanks for watching, and I hope you'll still be around for this one.